All right, we're recording.
Good. We're good.
Okay. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming to our second in a series of 3 virtual travel and wine nights. So I'm Shannon Lamarche, founder of Premier Luxury Travel, where I help clients discover the best of a destination through its food, wine, and culture. So since we can't travel the world right now, we're bringing the world to you. And tonight you're in for a real treat. After last week's event where we went on a life-changing adventure to South Africa, we're switching gears up a little bit and we're going to sail on a wine cruise down the Saône and the Rhône rivers through two of the most storied regions in France, and that's Burgundy and Provence. So we're joined by my friend Kathy Brock from Ama Waterways, a river cruise company known for their incomparable food and service where they make you feel like family. And since I find that wine and food unlocks the treasures of the countries I fall in love with, helping us fall in love with France, particularly the Burgundy and Provence regions that we will be showing you, is my friend Warren Egnall from Duvon Wine Strategies out of San Francisco. He is a wine aficionado, and we like to call him a walking, talking Wikipedia of wine. Before Kathy gets started, Warren, why don't you briefly introduce the wines we'll be tasting tonight, and then we'll go into more depth after our virtual cruise.
Yes, thank you, Shannon, and welcome everybody. Well, we're in for a little bit of a treat this evening. You know, they joke that if you love Italian wine, you eventually move from Tuscany, where we all begin, up to Piedmont and in France. So most people fall in love with and begin in Bordeaux, but ultimately aficionados migrate to Burgundy, which is where we're going to go today. I mean, Burgundy is almost always, and generally speaking always, red will be Pinot Noir, white will be Chardonnay. So we've got a couple of really, really wonderful wines tonight. These are the Vieilles Vignes, which those of you who speak French will know are the old vines from Francois Labay. The Labay family goes back several generations, 5 or 6 generations in France to the turn of the last century, 1800s, and the previous century even to that. And they are famous for their ownership of Château de la Tour in Clos de Vougeot. And Clos de Vougeot, one of the most famous Grand Cru vineyards in all of Burgundy. And they also make these wines, which are from Vougeot, the appellation Vougeot, but not the Clos de Vougeot. Clos means the walled area. And we're going to really enjoy drinking these wines. They're vinified in the same way, made at the same winery by the same winemaker. And frankly, I'm very excited about these wines. When I discovered them about 9 months ago, probably the best value for money Bordeaux's that I have ever had since I started the business. So enjoy them, drink the white, drink the red, for those of you who have the wines, and we'll come back then in more detail in about a half an hour or so.
Great, thanks, Warren. Kathy, I am so excited for you to show us a little bit about this brand new itinerary that Ama Waterways has through this amazing France. So, got the floor.
We have done, let me see. Oh, why does it do that? Okay, from the start. Now we go here. Is it there?
Yes.
Okay, good, good, good. You're in for a treat. Now, we have been doing Provence on the Rhône River for quite a number of years. I did that a number of years ago. I absolutely adored it. You know, Provence is just absolutely fabulous. But then this year we decided to expand and not only do the Rhône, which is Provence, but we're doing the Saône River now. And that gives you the combination of Burgundy and Provence. So it's an absolute, well, okay. All right. Are we there on that one? Okay. Has anybody done a river cruise? No. Okay, so we have to talk about a river cruise. Oceans take you to countries, but only rivers will take you through them. So we're going places that the big ships can't get to. So this is one of our lovely little ships on the Danube River, actually in the Wachau Valley, where my favorite wine is a Gruner Veltliner, and the Rieslings are pretty good there too. It's one of these little towns with the red tile roofs and the Baroque tower, and you want to do vineyards? How about those? You know, those are so steep, there's not going to be a machine get up there. That's all going to be hand harvested. You have things along the way like these castle ruins where Richard the Lionheart was held for ransom. What's different about river cruising versus ocean cruising is oceans ships are going to come into a port right on the edge of the country. You're going to get off the ship 4 or 5 hours in the port, then you're going to go back to the ship and sail away. In this case, you're sailing on the rivers, which were the original highways of Europe. So literally, this is where civilization grew up. Think to the Middle Ages when they couldn't move after 5 days of rain with a wagon or a carriage, but you could always move on the rivers. So the rivers stop and dock right in the middle of everything. Many cases, we're literally able to walk off the ship, like in this wonderful little town of Dürnstein, do walking tours. We also have some fabulous bicycle tours. We also include culinary tours, and we include all the wines that are famous for the region. So that's what river cruising is all about. This nails it. Oceans will take you to a country, but only rivers will take you through them. So we're family owned, which is a huge difference in this day and age. We are not a major corporation. We don't have that corporate mentality. We're owned by 3 families, 18 years ago, old as of the 1st of July. Rudy Schreiner, who is from Austria, Vienna, architect, designs the ships. Christine Karst came from Dresden, Germany, told me at one time she's now lived half her life in freedom, but half her life behind the Iron Curtain. She never traveled till the wall came down. And then Jimmy Murphy and his dad, Gary Murphy and his dad, Jimmy, are the 3rd family. Shannon can write, can call any one of these 3 people and they will answer. That's what it means to be part of the AMA family. Now, ama is actually the Latin derivation of the word love. Amo, amas, amat. That's why we get our name. So we are not AMA Waterways. We are AMA Waterways, and AMA means love. Now, make sure I have the right slideshow. Yep, okay, sorry. I do so many of these, I have to apologize. Was that at 4 o'clock or is this at 8 o'clock? Okay, we own every one of our ships, and again, very, very different in this day and age. When we built these ships, 1 or 2 ships a year, these families knew they had to pay for them. So we are operating 19 ships, a few more next year, and every one of those ships is paid for. There is no debt on any of our ships. Now, you're going to have people talking in this day and age about what companies are going to be able to come through at the end of this insanity and still be there. Well, I can promise you, AMA Waterways will be there. Every one of us are still employed with this company. I cannot tell you how devastated the travel industry has been. But I love this quote from Rudy when he says, there is no debt on any of our ships, so he can sleep at night. All kinds of protocols. Now, we can think now of what we're going through and how are we going to handle that, okay? We're going to have protocols of health standards for guests, for crew, for hotel staff. Now, food service is not going to be a problem for us because we have never been a company to do buffets. We have done served breakfast, we have served lunches, and we have served 5-course dinners. We serve regional cuisine and standard American cuisine. Now, we're not just talking about doing this. 5 weeks ago, one of our ships started sailing on the Rhine River. So we are putting every one of these protocols in operation. It's not a matter of talking about, say, talking the talk, we're actually walking the walk. So this is huge. We are also subject to the regulations, not just that we have, but the regulations of every single country that we're passing through. And a great example is that Danube River. On that Danube River, we're passing through 5 different countries. So we are subject to the regulations of all 5 of those countries. So we're operating now on the Rhine River with all these protocols in place, social distancing, spreading out, plexiglass dividers between the space, room service for now being served 3 meals a day if you'd like to sit in your own stateroom and enjoy it. So let's talk about France with Burgundy and Provence. This is a brand new itinerary, just start sailing as of next year. So now we have always done Provence. Provence is down through here. It's the Rhone River. It's the fabulous Châteauneuf-du-Pape wines. It's the Beaujolais wines. It's the Côte de Rhone wines. So Warren will have to spot me on this, but it tends to be lighter wines than you're going to have up in the Burgundy area. So you've got all kinds of options here in addition to along the rivers. You've got an extension in Barcelona and a land extension in Geneva, Switzerland. Fabulous.
Actually, Kathy, the opposite is true. The wine from the Rhone, which tend to be more Syrah, Mourvèdre, Marsanne, Grenache, etc., tend to be much heavier, at least certainly on the red side in terms of Pinot Noir. And Châteauneuf-du-Pape Blancs and Reds, for example, heavier than the Chardonnays, Chablis, and other reds that you get up in Burgundy, Chablis, and up in towards Champagne. It is true that even that further south, once you get down into the towards the coast in the southern Rhone, as you begin to come closer to Provence, you do get Beaujolais and Fleury and others, which tend to be lighter. I consider them insipid, but they're beautiful, beautiful wines from the Rhone, particularly in the northern Rhone and Hermitage area, are some of the most coveted wines in the whole world. But the wines we'll have tonight, the Chardonnay and the Pinot, would typically be more subtle, more delicate, more feminine, and lighter than those in the southern Rhone.
Well, Warren, you know I'm a white wine person. So I'm really speaking from the white wine perspective. You all can handle the reds. I'm with my Chardonnay tonight, thanks to Warren, sipping one of yours. So we have different styles of ships, different sizes of ships, depending on the river that we're on. This particular ship that does this itinerary is a ship called the Amacello. Now, I could swear to you there should be a plaque on cabin 101 because that's my cabin. I have sailed a number of times on the lovely Amacello, and I think you're in for a treat. She's called a French balcony ship. So her cabin design is a fixed window, which is a window that doesn't open, and a French balcony, which is sliding glass doors, opening out onto the river, the fresh air, the atmosphere, the scenery, but it's not a step out balcony. And then we have some suites on this ship as well. And we'll get back to this picture. This is that fabulous Avignon, Perloson Avignon. So we are a member of the oldest gastronomic society in the world. It's called Chaîne de Rôtisseurs. It means all of our food has to be locally sourced. We have no frozen food. We are on a first name basis with the local fishmonger because we can't even have frozen fish, and presentation really does look like this. So let's face it, travel is all about, number one, the people of where you're going. Number two, the food where you're going. And right on par with all of that, of course, is the fabulous wines. The river cruising really gets into the heart of the destination and attracts very like-minded people.
The trifecta.
Trifecta, perfect, yeah. So we've got a pre-cruise package in this case in Geneva, Switzerland, which is absolutely fabulous city. It's where 2 rivers come together, and actually one river crosses the other in this fabulous city. Switzerland is a wonderful country. I find Switzerland delightful. It is a very expensive country. So you really need to enjoy it. And Annecy it is known as the Venice of France, with the canals, with those beautiful buildings along here. That's an option here as well. Now, what are you going to see along the way? You're going to see castles. You're going to see fortresses. Now, what's different between the Rhone and the Saône? The Rhone is Provence and all the lavender fields, the sunflower fields. The Saône, just for instance, the foods in the Burgundy area tend to be much heartier. We're talking butter and potatoes and rolling hills, much more rolling hills and farmlands, and evidently these famous white Burgundy cows. It's a wonderful wine region, but it's countryside, much more so than the other rivers. It's also less traveled, so you'll have less river traffic on here. Dijon, you thought it was a mustard. Well, that's where the mustard comes from. And in the, the summer, you would have the mustard fields, that yellow as far as you could see. So I don't know, when some of us were growing up, I think we thought gourmet food was Grey Poupon or Dijon, because that's as sophisticated as we got. So going here is an absolutely fantastic experience. So let's talk about the cruise. Chalon-sur-Saône is at one end or the other. I don't know which direction you're going. And what month are you going, dear?
March 2020.
March. Okay, spring would be flowers, cherry trees, that sort of thing. If you got into summer in Provence, it would be the lavender fields, the sunflower fields. So much of the Provence area is where Vincent van Gogh did so much of his painting. So all of these areas are where the Impressionists chose to live and to work. Something about the sunlight in this area just inspired them with their paintings. So, Chateau, okay. Warren, those names just rolled off of your tongue. So maybe you can help me with the French pronunciations here. Because I struggle.
Even Jeff, you took French in
Well,
high
I presume Chateau de Couche.
Chateau de Couche, yeah. Again, just like a fortress, you can see this part of the old wall was an actual fortress. You know, I was telling Shannon, every time I try to learn some more pronunciations here, it's always narrated by a French person, and they say the names and the words so fast, I can't follow them. So absolutely fantastic area. This hospice, wonderful architectural area here, an experience. This is the beautiful landscapes. This is Tournon with this old stone churches here. And here are your rolling hills and vineyards. Very, very different from the Provence area because Burgundy is the rolling hills, the farmlands, the vineyards, just beautiful. Chateau Clément in France, again, with a moat around it. So classic old architecture. Most of these chateaus are lived in. This is where some of the original families lived there. We go to a chateau in the Bordeaux area that is in its 7th generation of owning that castle. Now, if you're from Georgia, you might call that Macon. But of course, in France, it's Macon. Again, all these cities and towns are on the riverbanks. So this is where the cities and towns grew up. So some of you're going to be a different town or experience every single day. In this case, for instance, see, you would dock right here. You would walk off the ship and do your walking, your hiking, or your biking tours. There's another one. You got that one, Warren?
There's Le Châtel.
There you go. See, I'm turning this mouse over to you. Okay.
I don't know why you're asking the South African to pronounce all these French chateau names. It was in high school when I last studied French.
I'm good on German. I am not good on French, but absolutely fabulous. Again, these old world fortresses with the old world architecture and the fabulous gardens, the sculptured gardens here. One of those beautiful cathedrals. Where, when you're traveling throughout Europe, where do you find the art and the architecture in these cities and towns? You find them in the churches. For instance, Gothic architecture is just absolutely amazing. Before you go, read Ken Follett's book, Pillars of the Earth, to understand how they actually built these things, because there were not mechanical means to do this. They hand carved the stones to do this. Again, beautiful scenery, rolling hills, and of course the river going right through it. Here's your Beaujolais, all right? Beautiful vineyards. And you're gonna visit the vineyards and you're gonna do an exceptional amount of wine tastings just because this itinerary is also wine focused. Now, Lyon is actually more famous for culinary and cuisine than Paris. Lyon is the gastronomic capital of France, has more five-star and Michelin five-star restaurants than even Paris. So having a day in Lyon with the beautiful scenery, again, see we're right against the riverside there, up on the hill, the river coming straight through it, the cathedrals here, just an incredible experience. And don't forget the food. We can't forget the food. In addition to the wines, Beaujolais and Burgundy and Côte d'Rône, that's my favorite. You've got these cheeses. Now I understand that there's a stinky cheese. The stinky cheese is actually what was Napoleon's favorite cheese. Épouse is the name of this cheese. And they said you can literally smell it a block away. That does not sound appetizing to me, but people absolutely rave about it. Warren?
Kathy, it's fantastic. So Comte and Époisse, as you mentioned, are not only just phenomenal cheeses, but are exceptionally well paired with wine. I mean, a good rule is to eat the food and particularly the cheeses from the same region the wines originate. And I think that's why sort of in, Époisse and Burgundy and Comte and others, particularly with red Burgundy, with Pinot Noir, are just an exceptional combination. I'm not so sure how well those desserts would go with Pinot Noir, but
Likely not, but you can't miss the macaroons and the sweets as well, and the praline pie. But
nothing like a dessert wine to go with with those.
Absolutely. I couldn't be more happier if you just sat me down with a good bottle of wine and lots of cheeses. I just am dying for a good wine bar somewhere near me, and I don't have one. One of the things I loved the most about both the sailings that I did in France was the local markets. When you go to those local markets and you see a white asparagus, that's like almost the size of your fist and this big, and you see these lovely tomatoes and artichokes that look like a medieval mace. It's really, again, getting with the people, getting with the culture, not just floating by it, not just touching a port, but really experiencing it. And that's what river cruising is really all about.
I think that's my favorite part. Docking right
absolutely.
there, walking into town, having a cafe au lait and a fresh croissant at the bakery where it was just like they're just pulling it out of the oven. There's just nothing better than that.
Gary Murphy, one of our owners, says when we dock, we wake up in the morning, we're docked in a new town. First thing he does is get off the ship, go into the closest cafe, and sit there and watch the town come alive, and then walk back to the ship for breakfast. So you can bail out of any of our walking tours, stop in a little local cafe, or a wine shop or a vineyard. We also do not guard the gangway. So if you would like to buy one of the local wines from a vineyard that you visited, that's fine. Bring it back on the ship. If you would like to buy the local bottle of scotch when you come through that duty-free and shop in the airport, again, very, very different from your experience on the big ships. Big ship.
Go ahead.
Pardon?
No, Lisa wants to know, is there a pastry chef on board to make the macarons?
There is a pastry chef on every ship. They make all the pastries, all the breads. We even make the homemade ice cream. We have the ice cream at lunch every day. If the weather's good, we could have an ice cream party up on the sun deck. This is just a really, really good experience. All you have to do is do one river cruise and you'll be hooked. Trust me. But Vignes and Valence, beautiful. Again, your ancient architecture here. Wine tastings. Okay, Warren. Cornat? Maybe? We lose wine?
No, the Cornas, and the interesting thing about Cornas up in the Northern Rhone, it's one of the areas where you can get some of the best value for money wines because it's just south of Hermitage, and Hermitage is where they have some of the greatest wines in the world. Gigal and others make wines from La Landon, La Turque, and La Mouline, and they can be $400-500 a bottle on release and can be several thousand with some age on them. But Cornas, which is just further south, gets wines that can be in the $30 to $50 range. While not quite in the same league, they are really, really superb. And after 3 or 4 glasses, most people will be able to tell the difference between a $35 Cornas and a $350 Hermitage. So get drunk on the good stuff and then switch to the cheap stuff.
Throughout this whole region, you're going to see these little towns and villages. You're going to see the church spire right in the middle of that town or village because that's a center. And look up here. I mean, that's a castle up there. And one of our hiking tours would probably go up there or our bicycle tours. Now, Avignon, I absolutely adore Avignon. Actually, I don't know how many of you remember your ancient history, but for 100 years, there were 2 popes. There was a pope who was elected and held seat in Italy, but there's also a pope that was elected and held seat in France. This is where that was. That right there is called the Palace of the Popes. It's an absolutely fantastic building. You're going to have all kinds of tours through here. The little square right outside the Palace of the Popes has a wonderful Ferris wheel. They have sidewalk cafes everywhere. You can bail out of any walking tour and say, hey, I know where the ship is. I'll meet you there. I'm going down the street to hit this little cafe or that little shop that had that beautiful Provence fabric in it. Avignon, there's a bike tour. All of these places have bike tours. Now, when we send out a bike tour, we send out 2 guides. So we have a guide at the front. We also have a guide at the back. So nobody's left behind. They can also take you back to the ship. You can also, the bikes are available for you to take out if you'd like. So biking tours, hiking tours, and culinary tours, all included with no other company does. So the culinary tasting, there we go. There's our cheeses and our wine and our fruits and our bread. I could be happy there for all afternoon long.
That's charcuterie.
Yeah. Now, this is my favorite port on all those both rivers, and that is Arles. Arles is just this wonderful little city. See how low these buildings are with those red tile roofs. That is a Roman amphitheater. All kinds of Roman ruins here. The Romans were everywhere here. They built the aqueducts. That's what you saw back there in Avignon. The Roman amphitheater is a live in-use amphitheater. There are little shops here. There's a little cafe here in Arles. And you might have heard of a painting by Vincent van Gogh called Café Nuit. And it shows the outside of the cafe with the awning out over it. And you can go sit right there in Cafe Nuit because it still is in operation. I love Arles. It's beautiful scenery, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, fabulous flowers when you're going to be there too. Look at that. I assume that's bougainvillea.
Yes.
And in Georgia, we'd say they're azaleas, but they don't climb. And Barcelona. Oh, if you haven't been to Barcelona, please do it. This is a fabulous city. You've got the paella, you've got the seafood right there. You've got the sangria. I mean, that afternoon I spent in Barcelona after we toured the fabulous Gaudi architecture. Now, I don't like modern architecture, but I think Gaudi's architecture is absolutely stunning.
Very animated, very curvy. There's not a corner on it.
Angle. Nope.
It's incredible.
Everything's curved. Yeah.
La Boqueria, that big market, that's colors everywhere. Like you see these colors in this picture, that market is full of colors.
Oh, that market is fabulous in Barcelona. And I mean, I remember hopping cafes. So I would try the sangria in one cafe. Go try the sangria in the next cafe. I'm trying to judge the sangria in each of the cafes with the wooden spoon and the picture and the fruit. Oh, it's just fabulous. And then you've got—
Kathy, did your judging skills improve as you went from cafe to cafe? Just curious.
Oh, sangria got better. It really did. That third cafe, that sangria was the winner.
Well, and the tapas are amazing there too, right? And the tapas and the Sagrada Familia, oh my God, the most incredible. It's a church, by the way. I was talking to my Spanish friends, church, not cathedral, in the world. I think it's absolutely stunning to see both the birth of Christ on one side and the resurrection on the other. Is completely different architecture, and the inside is magnificent.
And it'll never be finished.
Yeah.
19 spires, they're getting there.
I think there's another like 50 years, and it is again a Gaudi architecture. So look it up. You want to see some wonderful colors and some fabulous foods. And we even go up to Montserrat on an excursion. So overlooking the city of Barcelona. There's that cathedral. I mean, it sticks out in the middle of the city. Just absolutely fabulous.
I'd move to Barcelona if I could.
Lovely city.
I
So
love it there.
my quote.
It's not Gauche or Gaudi, just Gaudi.
Gaudi. Gaudi's, oh my God, he's incredible. He's brilliant. The best part about that tour is if you go into the basement of the church, it shows his brilliance in the design of it. It's actually upside down, and there's little sandbag weights all the way around the model. And you can see how he did it to go ahead and erect it. So it's so worth it to go there. You have to do the pre and post on these river cruises because it completely seals the whole deal of the beauty of this entire experience. So
after cruising down the Rhone, we pop over to Spain. Is that correct, Shannon? Is that the deal?
Well,
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
This particular one, this particular sailing, we start in Arles, so our pre will be in Barcelona, and our post will be in Geneva for those who want to add the post to. So we end in the Chalon-sur-Saône, and we start in Arles.
And what's different about AMA, again, is that the cruise manager goes on the entire experience. So if you start in Barcelona, your cruise manager will be there with you. So you're going to have a head start on everybody because you're going to already know the cruise manager. The cruise manager will do all those tours with you in Barcelona, then do the transfer to Arles, and then do the 7-night cruise. And if folks do the post cruise in Geneva, they would do that as well. So very, very different.
Kathy, why don't you tell everyone what the wine host does on a wine cruise? This isn't just a normal sailing where everybody's just going off and doing their own thing. You can, I guess you've got non-wine related shore excursions, but this particular sailing is a wine hosted cruise. So why don't you explain what that means?
a wine-hosted cruise, a wine cruise as we call it, is very unique in the industry, because I know there's some big ships that do wine cruises. That means they'd have maybe 2 lecturers on board the big ship and you could buy the wines. What AMA decided to do about 12 years ago is to offer hosted wine cruises, but we're doing it in a very, very different way. The wine host is going to do lectures. They're going to do tastings. They're going to even do a paired wine dinner. With every course of dinner, there's a different wine. And of course, they're going with us to the vineyards and the wine cellars. It has all the normal excursions, plus it has this wine host on board. Now, what's the big deal with the wine host? What's the big deal with wine host AMA style is that vintier, that wine host is coming from a North American vineyard. We're talking California, we're talking Oregon, we're talking Finger Lakes, and we actually pay for them to ship their wines over to our ship. We have an entire cabin that has nothing but wine and glasses. Now, why would we do that? We're doing that because basically our belief is that New World wines, which is what we're typically accustomed to, unless we have a Warren introducing us to South Africa and all these other wines, but your North American wines tend to be bold and hearty and fruit forward, whereas the Old World wines could be more soft and steeped in tradition, and you learn to appreciate both. By the way, on the ship, we are serving a local premium wine from the vineyards where we're sailing. No, it's not a wine that will be exported. No, you can't get it at home because you ask the vintner, I love your wine, why don't you export it? And he or she will say, because I sell them all here. So it's a very different aspect. All the regular excursions, nothing left out there. It's just the wine host in addition to everything else.
And I don't know about you, but I'm sorely lacking in my knowledge of Old World wine. So I'm really excited to learn from, you know, these wine makers and winery owners and, you know, people who know way more about it than I do.
Absolutely. So,
okay. Well, thank you, Kathy. We're going to have Warren now tell us, go into a little more depth about the wines that we're tasting from Francois Lebay, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So Warren, why don't you take the floor from here?
Well, thank you, Shannon. Well, interestingly enough, these are not California wines served in France. These are French wines served in California, or North Carolina, or Georgia, or New York, or wherever you happen to be. So, I mean, I certainly would recommend, you know, when in Rome, do as the Romans. So drink the local wine, eat the local food. They go, you know, time and place is certainly that, especially if you're able to access wines that aren't available in the United States. Take opportunity to drink them there. Drink your Oregon stuff when you come home. So, but anyway, so tonight, you know, thinking about Burgundy, up there in the west of France, as we saw, above the Rhone Valley, we have, of course, Burgundy. And Burgundy, RN24 is the street that runs right through it, and you've got all these beautiful vineyards, famed, of course, as I mentioned, for Pinot Noir in the reds and Chardonnay in the whites. But as a general rule, old world style, very different from the wines that we're accustomed to in California. So if we, or in the United States, but obviously most of the wine we drink in the United States, US wine, comes from California, Napa and Sonoma. So for those of you who are familiar with Sonoma Chardonnay or Napa Chardonnay, I'm curious as to what you think about this Chardonnay from Burgundy, because I venture to bet, unless you're familiar with wines from Burgundy, from the Côte d'Or, the Gold Coast, that this wine tastes very different from what you would ordinarily find in your local liquor store here in the States. I'm curious if anyone has any comments before I start diving in and leading the witness.
I didn't even realize it was a Chardonnay because it doesn't taste like a Chardonnay to me.
What does it taste like to you, Joan?
It's kind of maybe like a Riesling, but not with so sweet. And then the consistency is a little bit thicker, a little bit more viscous than a Chardonnay. So I love it. I really like it. And I'm not typically a white wine drinker. I prefer reds.
So, I mean, what you're seeing there, Joan, because obviously, you know, Burgundy is famous for Chardonnay. All the white wines are Chardonnay, 100% Chardonnay. And what you're getting there is a natural expression of the grape and what the French call terroir, the earthiness, and, you know, what the ground creates through the grape into the glass. And climat, climate or environment, temperature, weather, and all those kinds of conditions. So they have, it's very hot during the day in the valley there in Burgundy, and very cold at night, which is, technically speaking, is that diurnal fluctuation. Grapes love that. They love it hot during the day and cool at night. And the soil in Burgundy is very minerally. It's especially as you go further and further up the hills, the wines get more and more expensive as you move away from the clay soils down by the rivers or down by the beds of the valley, because they fight tooth and nail to get every drop of water, because they don't irrigate like we do here in the United States. So what the earth gives you, what climat gives you, what gets into the grape is ultimately what ends up in the glass, because the winemaker in France, particularly in Burgundy, tends to be much more restrained in terms of manipulation of the wine. If we were required in California to put all the ingredients in wines on the labels, you'd stop drinking it. It is full of all kinds of preservatives and extraction and oak chips and things. So what you're getting, Joan, in the wine is that essence of terroir. So it's much more, it has a great minerality to it and more of an earthy quality. Even if you go further north, Pouligny-Montrachet, Chassagne-Montrachet, and then into Chablis, you get that, even a flinty characteristic, almost like wet slate. But what we're getting in this beautiful Burgundy from the heart of the Côte d'Or is warmth and viscosity, that beautiful creamy mouthfeel you're talking about. But it's just got a hint of oak. Whereas in California, we tend to over-extract the wines by putting in lots and lots of new oak and vanilla essence, the vanilla essences which come out of the wine in terms of oak, or what we call buttery. In fact, there's a wine in California called butter now. I don't know if you get it where you guys are, but it's insane. I mean, but some people like that style. That's great. I happen to prefer this more restrained, cleaner, fresher style of Chardonnay. And interestingly, more and more winemakers in Sonoma and Napa are beginning to make wines in the old world style as people become more and more exposed to Chardonnay that is of this type.
This is wonderful, because as soon as you describe it, I understand, yes, that's what I'm tasting. Otherwise, I would never have come up with that on myself.
Right, so you get the beautiful warmth of the vine, but you also have great balance. So it's got great acid to it, which is why Chardonnay, particularly old world style Chardonnay, goes so well with food. Even creamy dishes, certainly shellfish and seafood and other things like that. But those cheeses like the Epoisse and others go really, really well with it, because it's got the acid to bite through the richness of the food. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful wine. Well, what did you guys think of the red wine, the Pinot Noir?
Go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any comments about the wine.
I only opened the white tonight.
Well, Richard, I think you have one of these that arrived on your UPS truck today, so you can.
They did. I'm going to taste the red over the weekend.
We'll talk about it. So again, the interesting thing, both these wines are vin vin, which is old vines, and that means the wines have had many decades usually to mature. So you're getting the true essence of what is what the winemaker is capable of getting out of the environment there. And interestingly, Pinot Noir, those of you who have the Pinot Noir in front of you, hold up your glass and put your fingers behind the wine. As a general rule, If you're drinking Pinot Noir and it's not translucent, stop drinking it. A lot of California Pinot wine, Pinot Noir, like that Mayomi stuff that they brew on the inside of a donkey, is full of mega purple and other additives because they want a deep red, ruby, garnet color in the wine, because research shows that we here in America like, as you said, Kathy, deep red, fruit-forward, purpley wines. Now, there's plenty of fruit in this Pinot Noir. You know, the fragrance on the nose is it's very bright. It's got the beautiful red fruit. Pinot Noir will have red fruit, raspberries and strawberries, whereas Cabernet and Shiraz will have more black fruit, plums and blackberries, for example. But mega purple, if those of you who don't know it, is dehydrated grape must. So when they ferment the wine and they're getting it going, all the seeds and skins and all that stuff floats up to the top, and they pump it down a few times to get some essence in the wine, but ultimately it gets removed. Well, chemical companies and here in the States and elsewhere have dehydrated that must, and then they sell it to winemakers to then rehydrate into insipid thin wine to give it bold color. And they do that in Pinot Noir too. So if you're drinking Pinot Noir and you cannot see your fingers through it, or Barolo for that matter, you know, in some cases, aged Barolo, then you're drinking a very, very manipulated wine. And I love this Pinot Noir because it's light, it's delicate, it has, you know, it's got that great feminine characteristic as opposed to Shiraz or Sauvignon Blanc, which is very powerful and very masculine. It's a beautiful, beautiful food wine. If you happen to like duck, this is a beautiful wine for duck. Is great pairing. It can even stand up to lamb and other things done very beautifully. Pinot Noir is a wonderful wine if you're not a red meat eater. Pinot Noir works very, very well with poultry, as I mentioned, with duck, but it also is a wine that goes well with fish, interestingly enough. And, you know, there is this antiquated tradition that you drink white wine with fish and chicken, and you drink red wine with red meat and things like that. I am not of that ilk. I'm like, hey, you know, if you like to eat fish, there's plenty of red wines that'll go with it. And frankly, I'll introduce you some Grand Cru Burgundy white Chardonnay from Montrachet that'll stand up to steak. I've got a little bit of an argument with Luc Bouchard once, where he said, oh, you could never drink Montrachet with steak. And then we were doing a dinner, and I pulled out some, you know, I had the waiter bring over, you know, I had the chef do a little bit of filet mignon, and we brought out some of the Montrachet, and he tasted it, and he said, maybe the Americans do know something that we don't in France. But that's so anyway, that's Burgundy. That's Bourgogne Rouge and Blanc, and I think you could not go wrong with either of these wines. As I mentioned, this winery produces wines that are and Burgundy wines from other producers as well that go for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. I just had a client pick up some Burgundy from me where the magnums were $1,500 a bottle. But the beauty of it is that these wines are made by the LeBay family for the importer Celano, they specifically said, please make us a wine that we can sell to our restaurant clients for their buy the glass program. So when you walk in a restaurant and say, I want a glass of red wine or white wine, this is what they would give you for $15 or $18 a glass. Well, it's a fantastic wine. And I think it's the same wine. You know how if you go to Costco and you buy Grey Goose vodka and you buy the Kirkland vodka, it's rumored to be the same thing. Well, I can't tell. I actually think this is the same wine that they sell at retail for $50 under the Pierre LeBay label. But this one's from Francois LeBay for restaurants. And the Pierre LeBay is $60 and this one's $35. So guess what I drink every night?
Mm-hmm. If you can't tell the difference, why pay the price?
Exactly. Now, you can tell the difference between this for $35 and Francois LeBay's Chateau de la Tour Clos de Vougeot Reserve for $600.
Wow.
And if you want to buy a bottle, I'll happily come over and drink it with you.
I'm sure you would. Okay, does
In fact,
anybody?
I could absorb the plane ticket, within the cost of the wine.
Of course you could. And then drink my wine.
Exactly.
Does anybody have, if anybody has any questions for either Kathy or for Warren or for even me, feel free to unmute yourself and have at it.
So, Shannon, the different ports, are there different types of experiences for each port? Is it kind of designed for certain types of travelers? Is there anything that makes me think that, one port is more cultural, one more, obviously Lyon is more culinary?
Yeah. I would say yes. What do you say, Kathy? I know you've got a variety of, hiking, biking, cultural, food, wine. So what would you say about that?
We're going to typically offer between 4 and 6 excursions in every port. So not only are the walking tours paced, so you can be a regular walker or active walker because of that pastry chef, or a gentle walker, or you can go out on a bike tour. It depends. Like Arles is going to have more architecture. It's going to have more emphasis on the Roman amphitheater and that sort of thing in the Roman ruins. Avignon is going to be, again, architecture and everything inside that papal palace. So it totally depends on the port that you're in, and we're going to customize the experiences to that port. But typically, there's always something for everyone's taste. The best bet is you sit down with that cruise manager. They're going to do a presentation before every port. They're going to say, these are the experiences. Now, if you signed up for that one over there and you changed your mind, that's fine. We can do that. Or if you met a lovely couple that you want to travel the gentle walkers with the next day, you can change to that as well. So they'll be very customized to the destination port, whether it's a wine tastings or maybe it's a cheese tastings. I remember, oh, Warren's just emptied the bottle there.
That is a twice daily occurrence for me, Kathy, emptying a bottle of wine.
Well, you saw I had to go up and refill mine. You have to send me that Pinot Noir next time when you send me another case, Warren.
Well, here, I don't know if you can see. I'll turn this around. This is the bar behind me with all the stuff. But over there, no, can we see that? Can you see that taste? Do you see that table with wine on it?
Yeah, that's your tasting table, hey?
That's my tasting table. For those who are with you on Facebook, there's like 25 bottles of wine there that are like teed up for that I'm supposed to taste and sample and try and potentially buy from distributors. So, it's a really tough life. It's like people show up.
Woe is me.
I know.
They make me taste it, and what am I going to do?
So just so everybody knows, when most people think of a cruise ship, they think of thousands of people. These river cruise ships hold like 100 to 150 people. It's very.
This one's 148. At full capacity, the cello is 148.
And so these, if they have 6 different excursions, that's very few people. It's a very small group. So you really, really get to know everybody on board by the time you're done, and you've just met 100 new best friends.
You'll know people within the first 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
You really will.
Yeah, and they have this incredible chef's table. Tell us about the chef's table.
The chef's table is on all of our ships. So you have the main dining room on an AMA ship. The main dining room is different because we have tables for 2. We have tables for 4. We have 5 top tables for solo travelers, and we have 6 and 8.
And
Sounds like
you have some cabins that are for solo travelers too, right?
Yeah, on this ship we do, yeah. But that doesn't sound like a big deal until you realize other river cruise ships have every single table in their dining room is for 6 people. That means not just dinner with 6, that, folks, is breakfast with 6 people every day. Now, we also have a chef's table specialty restaurant. There is a private chef in that restaurant preparing and plating a 7-course paired wine dinner, and there is no charge for the chef's table restaurant. So on your sailing, you're going to have the chef's table experience. You're going to have the paired wine dinner experience. And because we're a member of Chaîne de Rôtisseurs, one evening we have the La Chaîne dinner as well. So absolutely fabulous dining. I bet I have somebody in the audience like Joan that could attest to that.
Yeah, and also with the solo supplement, you know, most people are used to paying double because they're occupying one room. AMA only charges 125%. So if you really want to go on a river cruise and you don't have anybody to go with you, you still can, and it's not exorbitantly more. And this wine cruise idea isn't an extra cost either. It's all included. So that's one thing I really love about the way AMA does their river cruises, and their ships are beautiful. The food is incredible. You know, it's a very casual elegance.
Country club casual.
Country club casual, yes. If nobody else has any other questions, I want to do.
I have a question, Shannon. So if you go with someone else, you pay X number of dollars for the cabin. If you go by yourself, you pay $125. So if you want some wine and you're going to drink it with someone else, you'll pay $1. But if you're going to drink it by yourself, can I charge you $1.25?
Only if you're a ship.
No.
Lauren, I think you need to do your math when you haven't gotten into your second bottle of wine. Just saying.
That's right.
Too.
I'm kidding. I just wish I could charge an extra 25% and people were drinking wine by themselves. That's all.
So I want to do something.
I'm kidding. I get the concept. I'm not an idiot. Thank you.
No, but like Shannon said, it really is
No,
extraordinary because usually the solo supplement for a single traveler, they're frequently paying double what the rate is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm making a joke.
Trying to
People.
make a
Why
joke.
not? I know we're in COVID times, but laugh a little. It's just a joke. Just a joke.
More often than not, I will tell you that I travel solo. I did Provence solo. I even did our Southeast Asia, Cambodia and Vietnam solo. Very safe, very secure, very comfortable. Again, that AMA level of service that nobody else offers.
You
So
can
even, like I said, the pre and post
maybe you
packages.
want your own cabin. You know,
Yes.
you still go on with people you know, but you don't want to share. So that's cool too.
It's kind of cool. It is.
So I want to give Kathy a little love. Can we all make our little heart? Everybody try to do that. I want to get a picture
Thank
of
you.
it. Thank you so
Come
much.
on, you can do it.
I want to share my screen real quick here. Hang on. Here we go. Okay. So again, I want to put in a little plug for my, I'm taking a group, the March 31st to April 7th, 2022 sailing of this very new itinerary on the Amacello through Burgundy and Provence.
Shannon, we can't hear you. You're muted, or, well, you're not muted, but we can't hear you. All of a sudden we lost sound.
Oh, that's
I can hear her.
Can you?
I can't hear anybody.
I can hear her.
Okay.
We can hear.
Okay, good. Maybe it's just you, Lisa. I'm sorry.
Something happened to your sound.
Everyone can hear you. I'm sorry. But anyway, so if I'm only taking 10 couples. So if you want to sign up, AMA has given me this amazing deal where if you put just a deposit down by September 30th of this year, you get a $750 per person discount. That's $1,500 for your cabin. So if you want any information about that, please let me know and I will send it off to you. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun and I cannot wait to show you guys.
And since you are on this tonight, I can offer a $100 per person discount on top of that.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Thank you, Kathy.
That means you need to deposit within 2 weeks of this event. And Shannon, what is the deposit?
$400 per person.
And then
what?
you have to pay the balance.
Oh, well, not until what, 120 days before, 90 days?
90 days.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got a whole year.
January of next year. January of 22.
22. Yeah. So put your money down now, start dreaming, and then you've got 15 months to come up with the rest. So it's pretty awesome. And Kathy and Warren, I wanted to thank you for sharing your insights, and thank you everyone for spending time with us tonight. We're right just after 8, and I promised you we'd limit it to an hour. So if this evening did whet your appetite for some great wine tasting and floating through historical places, please come join me and Jeff on this cruise. I think you're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to learn so much about the different wines that we're going to be experiencing. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed tonight, and hope you can join us on this cruise. So
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
thank you.
All love.
It's beautiful. Nice
Thank
job,
you.
Kathy. Nice job, Warren.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming. Hi, Alicia.
Bye.
Lisa, what Lisa?
I'll stay on till everyone's gone.
Lisa.
I think Lisa left. Did she leave? Yeah, she's gone.
Okay, let me know how many.
I will. All right. Take care. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming.